Qidi Technology have been making high-grade 3D printers for many years. Their flagship model at this time is the X Max. Having a very good experience over the years with Qidi products, I decided to try out the X Max. The printers themselves are available from many sources, but I will leave links in the description below for this printer. Due to the heavy weight of the printer, the packaging really has to be good to survive the journey. Everything inside the printer was tied down quite securely. All the ties and packaging would obviously have to be removed first. On both the left and right hand side there were cable ties which were padded with bubble wrap to stop any movement of the rails. Removing the first polystyrene packing, this revealed some bulldog clips. There are 3 of these in total. These will obviously have to be removed. These 3 bulldog clips are only put in place on the belt to stop any movement during transportation. Once removed, you will not need them again. You will have now movement on the X and Y axis. This will allow you to move the head out the way while removing the last piece of the large foam packing. Remember, this printer is quite heavy, so it will need 2 of you to pick up and move if required. I found moving the printer back a little bit, leaving sufficient room at the front to gain access to the contents inside the printer. Using a little bit of force pulling upwards, you can move the printer bed. This will give you access to the contents under the printer bed. On the polystyrene packing you will find a glue pen and also a USB pen drive. Remove these for later use. The other piece of packing is actually a foam box. Inside this foam box you will find some accessories. Everything you will need for this printer you will find in this box. This will comprise of a user manual that I suggest that you read before continuing, a build plate levelling sheet, 1 cat lead to connect to your printer, a USB pen and glue stick, the filament reel holder, we will need to assemble that in a moment, a power lead and a small toolbox and screwdriver. Although the X Max is pretty much assembled when you get it, there are 1 or 2 items you still need to add. One of these is the filament guide. This can be found on the top section of the printer. There is a spare one there as well if required. Next we assemble the filament holder. Pull up both filament arms. When you pull them up they will click into place. You will need a little bit of strength pushing on and taking off the end stops. The reel holder can hold up to 3 reels at any one time, although you would only use 1 reel at any one time during a print. As I mentioned earlier, you will need a little bit of strength putting on and taking off the end stops, but this will get easier as time goes on. Once the filament bar has been assembled, simply place on the top of the vertical sections and lock in place. Once the reel is in place, simply get one end of the filament and push it into the guide tube. This should pass through the filament tube with ease and there should be no restrictions when pulling the filament. Pull down the filament lever lock and push the filament into the top of the extruder. When the printer is first used, always check to ensure that the correct voltage has been selected. Plug in the mains cord and switch on the power to the printer. The main on-off switch can be found on the right hand side of the LCD screen. Simply press it once to switch on the printer. One thing I would strongly suggest before using your printer for the first time is check that the printer bed is level. Remember, it has travelled all the way from China. This serves 2 purposes now. One is to ensure that everything is moving like it should do. 2 is that the printer bed is going to be level before use. To activate this, simply press the bed levelling icon on the main screen. There are 2 bed levelling options. One is the quick way and the other one is the full bed levelling. I would suggest you do the full bed levelling. This will check all the necessary levelling points. This will take a little bit of time for your first time, but after that you can select the quick levelling. When making any adjustments, simply loosen off the wing nut, adjust the knob to the levelling. Now the levelling sheet should just simply push in and out with very little resistance at all. Once you have achieved that, simply tighten up the wing nut again. This will stop the nut from undoing. With this being the first time you're doing the levelling, I would suggest that you do it a couple of times just to be on the safe side. Having the bed level is very important, as this can and will affect your prints. In the future you can select the quick leveling option. Once the bed leveling has been achieved, then we can move on now to the next section, which is loading the filament into the extruder. To do this, press the filament icon. This will show you the temperature that it will go to and what it is now. Simply press that number and the temperature will increase. It will turn red while it's increasing. Once it reaches to 220 degrees C, press the downward arrow. This will now force the filament through the extruder. After a very short period of time, you will see the filament extrude out of the head. Let this run for approximately 10 seconds. Press the red circle with a bar through it to stop the filament from being pushed through the extruder. Press on the numbers to stop the filament from heating up anymore. This will push it back to its normal cold state. That concludes getting the printer ready for its first use. On the provided USB pen drive there are some test models that can be used. They are pretty basic models, but they do give you a chance to test out your printer for the first time. To print the higher temperature filaments, Qidi Tech will provide you with a high temperature extruder. To use this you will need to enclose the whole of the printer, that is, keep the door closed on the front, the two side panels closed, and you will now need a top lid. Due to the limitation of weight when ordering from Amazon.co.uk, the top cover, filament, high temperature extruder that can heat up to 300 degrees C, the LAN cable, screwdriver and toolbox have not been put in the X-Max's packaging. To get these, simply contact support and they will send them via express from their factory. I will leave a link for this in the description below. Both the build quality and print quality of the X-Max is excellent. I have looked at many printers now in the past and none of them go anywhere near the quality of this printer. If you are in the market for a 3D printer of good quality, then the X-Max is well worth considering. I hope you found this information of use to you. Thank you for watching.